everyone. Today we're going to be focusing on ankle strength. Make sure you're going to your level and your level only. Skip what doesn't work, and again, make sure to make the practice your own. So when we're ready, we're going to find any easy seat we need, and as always, make sure you give yourself that time to really just settle into the pose that you need today. This might even be a moment to remind yourself that this is your time. Even if 23 of the remaining hours of this day are for other things and for other people, right now, this hour is for you. And we might just take a deep breath in and see what a sigh does for us. Likewise, there's no expectations, no predictions here. We just want to take a deep breath in and see what a sigh does for us. Now, as we start to settle into that easy seat, we can start to really focus in on our breath. Just noticing how it feels to breathe in and how it feels to breathe out. And today I really want you to see how much of you can really focus on how the breath feels. How does it feel as it comes into the body? How does it feel as it comes out of the body? Now today might be a day that we allow our mind to wander. We can remind ourselves that our minds are designed to process. They are not designed to be still and to be silent. So perhaps today we allow it to run its course a little bit, but we practice being mindful with what it's doing, being curious. So as we start to notice where the mind is at, can we notice what thoughts are popping up? If it works for us, we can be curious as to why. Always mindful that for some people that can be a little bit of a minefield, and if that is not going to be good for us, if it's not constructive to go down this route, we're going to take a step back. We're just going to focus on the breath. But if we can we just be curious about our thoughts, curious about our feelings? One of the things we might do is notice any feeling we have right now and ask ourselves, what would this feel like in my body? What does this feel like? We can remind ourselves that our mind and our body are so intricately intertwined that to try to separate the two is a fool's errand. So if we find that we have a very strong emotion going on, can we take a moment to notice where we feel that in the body? And it's okay if the answer right now is, I don't know where. Just allow yourself that train of thought. Allow yourself to at least question where it might be. Now maybe we can draw our attention back towards our breath. Just that moment to breathe in. And that moment to breathe out. Now if it's possible, we're going to give this 5 more deep breaths. Now when we are ready, we'll bring our hands together at our heart. Now we'll pause here for a moment, we'll set our positive intention, and we can always remind ourselves that our intention can be nothing more than a character trait we want to remind ourselves of. Patience, strength, assertiveness, whatever we need. And today, I invite you to keep your hands still pressed together. And if it feels good, we're going to start rubbing our palms together as vigorously as we can, but without overdoing it. Just creating a little heat, a little friction between the palms. And then when we are ready, we will stop and remove them or move them about 1 centimeter apart from each other. So when we're ready, we'll stop. We'll just notice that buzzing sensation between our hands. Maybe we put lightly pressing the hands towards center, maybe feeling a little light resistance, like two north ends of two magnets are meeting each other. Just notice how that feels. Now, if we would like, for today's seated poses, we'll do a little bit of Qigong exercises. So we can think of this basically as our breath with movement, only this comes more from China as opposed to India. So if it works for us, on our next inhale, we'll let our arms lift up and overhead, nice and slow. And then we will let our palms face the ground. We're just going to lightly press the palms down. Now, can we continue to think about that buzzing sensation, that light resistance against the palms? And can we think about that as the arms scoop up, like we're scooping through resistance right here, and we'll slightly press down. So how far down is up to us? Maybe it's chest height, maybe it's navel height, it's up to us. We can scoop back up, maybe a deep breath in. On the exhale, pressing back down. We can experiment with having our fingers out. We can also have our fingers closed together. Traditional Qigong, the fingers are closed together, but really make that time your own. So maybe one more time in full. We're going to go up. We're going to press down, nice, slow exhale if we can, and eventually those arms can relax down. Now maybe it feels good to shrug out the shoulders. And then if we're ready, we'll come onto our tabletop position. So whether we want to swing the legs around or roll over our shins, as always, make those transitions your own. Likewise, if we find having the knees directly against the mat doesn't feel good, we can put a blanket underneath it. We can even put a pillow underneath it. Again, make this time your own. And we'll start with our cat-cow movement. So we'll start by dropping the belly down, maybe a deep breath in. Maybe on our exhale, we round our back. And we're just going to repeat this movement now if we can. We're going to drop down. We're going to rise up. And we really want to think it's the breath that is guiding this movement. So if we can, we think, I inhale, and the inhale dropped my belly. I exhale, and the exhale rounded my back, and I can just repeat this movement as it feels right. My exhales are rounding my back. My inhales drop the belly. But again, make that time your own. Make it whatever you personally need. It doesn't have to be the conventional exhale to round and inhale to drop. Now, if we can, we'll add in a little ankle movement. So if we can, we're going to curl our toes for one pose. Doesn't matter which one. We can round or flatten our feet for the other. We're just going to repeat this. So we're just going to keep going back and forth like this. Little curl of the toes as we drop the belly or round the back. And then flatten the feet. Maybe as we curl the toes, we lightly press our heels back and then flatten them. Again, make this time your own. It's just a little movement here. I want to start to wind down. Nice and slow, end on whatever it is you want to personally end on. Now once we are ready, we're going to come back to center, back to that tabletop position, and we'll find our balancing table. And we'll start first by taking our left leg, and we'll extend that left leg up, but we'll first start with the foot against the ground. We'll let the toes stay curled, and we might lightly press our palms towards the front of the mat as if they're trying to slide to the front, but they'll stay where they are. And we're just going to let our weight shift back, especially letting that foot flex, that heel trying to travel to the back of the room, maybe a little press of the belly towards the stomach, keeping our core engaged. That's probably one of the healthiest habits we can get into, pressing that belly in, keeping your core engaged. It's more than just trying to give us the six-pack abs look. It actually really helps out our back, helps our posture. Now when we're ready, we're going to lift that leg up. Can we keep that belly engaged? Maybe. That right arm can reach, maybe not. So again, doing your best to hold it, but can we continue to hold that core? We can also think of it almost like a micro crunch, just a little rounding in, pressing belly to spine, and the bottom of our ribs are trying to get a little closer towards the pelvis. Deep breath in, deep breath out, and then we'll bring it down. Now we might need a moment, a little shake out for the wrists, a little stretch out. We're going to try it on the opposite side now. So we're going to extend the leg, we curl the toes, and then we could press those hands back. So what I've been doing have been very light pulses, little press to the front of the mat as my heel lightly tries to get to the back of the room. We don't have to add in those pulses. Again, we want to make this time our own. Can we practice pressing that belly to the spine, engaging the core? And just notice where we're at. We might even just stay here today. Maybe this feels really good, and coming to balancing table actually takes something away from us. Then we stay here. Now, if we're ready though, if we want to come to balancing table, we're gonna press through the belly as we lift up that leg. We can extend out our opposite arm. Now, it's almost a point of contention in some yoga schools as to whether or not you flex your foot in balancing table or point it. Either one is fine. Today we're playing with flexing it, if only because that's where our foot was when it was against the ground. But if you like that pointed variation, nothing wrong with it. Make this time your own. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. One more breath as your core is still engaged. And we'll bring it all down, hand and knee. Might need to shake things out a little bit, a little stretch out. Maybe we're moving our hips a little bit. We'll come to that child's pose when we're ready. As always, this is just our chance to do a little extra settling in. I know for me, sometimes when I first come to the mat, that easy seat is less than easy. But maybe after a few poses, after a little bit of breath work, maybe I'm ready for a little more stillness. And that's what this second resting pose is for. Just give yourself an extra moment here. And take that breath in and out. Now, when we are ready, we'll find our first down dog. We can come back up, readjusting. Again, we really want to try our best to think fingers spreading wide, maybe a little grip of the mat as we curl the toes to shift back and up. Now maybe we take a moment, a little pedal out of our heels. Now maybe we even look at our feet and we notice that if we want to lift up onto our toes, the legs or the feet more or less go straight up and then they come straight down when we lower them. So we can even press through the ball of our feet as we come up and then come down. Maybe we press through the big toe as we come up. And as we come down, I really want you to play around with this a few more times. And what we're doing here is just reminding ourselves that if we come up onto our toes for any other practice in this particular class, that we want to keep that straight line from foot to leg. We don't want the feet to sickle out like they're making mirror image letter C's. So you can just play with this one more time if we like. Now, if we want, we can either continue on with this or add in any other mindful flow that works for us. Again, if we like our conventional vinyasa flow, that roll towards plank, maybe even a slight shift forward as we lower. As we find our back bend, stay in the back bend for as long as you'd like, and when you're ready, come back to the resting pose of your choosing. So whatever we find, can we give this 3 more breaths? Now, when we are ready, we can find our way into a forward fold. So it might feel good to walk our feet to the hands or hands towards the feet. Whatever it is we need. It's our first forward fold. We'll get a chance to just notice what we need. Do we want to bend the knees? Do we want to sway? Do we want to shake the head out? Again, our time right now. What do we need? Can we give this another deep breath in? And deep breath out. Now when we are ready, we'll come up to stand. We're going to press through the feet, coming up. Those arms can reach, and eventually the hands can find the heart. And we'll pause. We'll take that moment to breathe in. We'll take that moment to breathe out. So before we play around with our chair flow, I want us to take a moment to get our feet about hips width distance, excuse me. We're gonna let our feet face straight ahead if we can. Now, if they need to turn out for now, that is okay, but just be really mindful about the movement through the ankle then. Now, if we can, I want you to press through the balls of your feet so much, press through that big toe so much that the heel had no choice but to lift up. Now, it can lift up just a little bit. It can lift up more than a little bit. Notice what happens. Notice if our weight wants to roll onto the pinky toe sides of our feet. That's that sickling, that mirror image letter C's. We want to avoid that. And we're going to mindfully come down. Just notice how that feels. We want to really keep that in mind, especially throughout our practice, but also with the chair flow that we're about to do. So when we're ready, we're going to come to our chair flow. So ideally, we might be doing hips width distance. We can do feet together, but we want to be extra careful about that sickling out. It's a little more likely if the feet are together. So whichever version works for us, we're going to shift back and down. We're going to press that belly towards the spine. We're going to take a moment here if we can. And we're going to take that deep breath in, that deep breath out. And we're going to let this be a progression. So the first one is our ski jumper flow. We're going to inhale for length. We're going to exhale, let our arms swing back, maybe a little tilt forward in the torso. And on our inhale, we'll turn to chair. So again, we'll do that again. We'll exhale, swing back, little tilt forward, inhale, return to chair. One more time in full, we can exhale, and then inhale back to our chair. Pausing here if that's possible. Now if we're ready, we're gonna add in a straightening of the legs, eventually adding in a lifting of the heels. So we're gonna inhale, on the exhale, we'll swing our arms back. On the inhale, we're going to come up all the way to standing. Just for this one, we're just going to stand and worry about getting onto the toes yet. Now when we're ready, we're finding ski jumper again. Bend the knees, arms can swing back. Now when we're ready, we'll inhale, coming up, straightening the legs, pressing through the feet so much the heels come up. Nice and mindful, they come down, back to ski jumper. 2 more times. Inhaling as we come up, press through those feet so much the heels lift. On the exhale, we lowered back. 1 more time. So we're going to come up. We're going to come back. 1 last chair pose, just a regular old chair. And then we'll find forward fold. So we're going to lower down. We're going to give ourselves some extra time in this forward fold. We just spent a lot of time in our chair position. So this is our chance to hit reset. Do we want to keep the knees bent, especially if we want to just focus on that low back releasing? Do we feel like shaking out our head today? Or nodding out the head? Do we want to hold on to our elbows? Do we like to sway? And for some, that's swaying purely through the torso, as if our forearms are drawing letter C's around our toes, or a rainbow across our toes. Others like to let the hips swivel as well, or just let the hips swivel entirely and there's almost no movement in the torso. So again, what do we need here? What feels good? Can we give this 3 more breaths, whatever it is we found? Now when we are ready, we're going to find the flow of our choosing. So that can mean finding that halfway lift, strong, flat back. On the exhale, relax, sit down. We'll plant our hands. Movement of our choosing. That might involve stepping back to plank or down dog. Again, what Vinyasa flow feels good for us here? It might not be a lower and back bend. It might be doing some cat-cow movements. Maybe we like those lowering and rising of the heels. What do we need? Whatever we find, I want you to eventually wind that down and find a resting pose. And we can rest in that pose for a good 3 breaths when we're ready. When we are ready, We'll find our way to three-legged dog. So if that works for us, we can meet in downward facing dog, and perhaps we lift up our left leg first. Now what we can do is we can think bending the knee. That knee points out towards that left wall. The toes are trying to point out the right wall. But we're also thinking lifting up and over with that left hip. Little stack of the hips there. Now if we can, maybe we roll out our ankle in one direction. Maybe we roll out the ankle in the opposite direction. We might even do a little flex and point of the foot. Now when we are ready, we'll find our way to Warrior One. So if we can, we're going to square off our hips. We'll bring our knee to the chest. We'll bring that foot towards that left hand. We can come up. We can spiral that back heel down. We might need to readjust. If the hips can stay relatively square towards the front of the mat, maybe we're ready to let our arms reach up. And then we pause here. I know for me, when I come into my warrior poses, triangle, wide-legged forward fold, I get a dull ache in the back of that back leg's calf muscle. And that's because my calf muscles, especially my outer calf muscles, are overworked. And they're overworked in imbalanced ways, which can sometimes contribute to our ankles being a little wobbly, a little more likely to sickle out. Again, we are just one gigantic set of dominoes. And we're just going to try our best to breathe in. I'm going to try our best to breathe out. Now maybe we do our silver surfer flow, which is similar to ski jumper. We're going to think inhale for length. We'll exhale, let our arms swing back, a little tilt forward if that feels good, and we'll press through the feet to come up. And on the exhale, we'll swing the arms back, tilting forward. On the inhale, coming right back up. One more time in full if that feels good. So we'll tilt forward. We'll come back up. We'll pause. Now, if it feels good, we'll find our Stargazing Warrior and perhaps into Humble Warrior. We'll let our arms come down behind us. Now, maybe we want to interlace our fingers or clasp the palms or hook our thumbs. What do we want? Now, when we're ready, we'll just think Stargazing Warrior, pressing through the belly, lifting through the chest. Maybe those shoulders can relax back. We might even think the shoulders are trying to point out or travel to the wall behind us. Some even like to place the hands lightly on the tailbone area and just lightly press inwards as the shoulders press back. Now, if we're doing this, maybe it gets one more breath. But then we want to relax that as we find our way into Humble Warrior. So we'll take a deep breath in. On the exhale, we'll tilt forward, Humble Warrior. Again, taking that moment here. Yoga is all about being present with discomfort. So if it is possible, can we be mindful of what discomforts are there? Again, this is a minefield for some people. If it doesn't work for us, don't do it. But if it does work for us, can we just notice? Are the feet tired? Are the legs tired? Are we hearing distracting noises? Is the temperature in the room not what we would like it to be? And we're not doing it to chase after complaints. We're doing it to notice. Now in that noticing, can we stay neutral? Give it another deep breath in. Another deep breath out. And then when we're ready, we'll press through the feet, come back up, relax the arms. We'll straighten our front leg, and we'll do a variation of reverse triangle. We'll take that right hand, we'll just let it place against our right leg or against the hip. That left arm could reach up, or maybe up and back, just like we're stretching and then reaching for something on the ceiling, but it's also behind us. And that hand can be wherever we need it to be, pressing through the belly. If we're getting pinching in the low back, that's our cue to ease out of it. And just think of lifting up through the chest. Another deep breath in, another deep breath out. Now when we're ready, we'll relax that down. We're gonna find our way into our 5-pointed star. We're gonna take our front foot, pivot it in, back heel, pivots in a lot. We might need to readjust the feet. We can let our legs stay straight for now. We're gonna let our arms come out to the side, 5-pointed star. Just letting ourselves get big. We're just taking up a lot of space, which actually helps out our mind. If we can think big with the body and get expansive with the body, we're gonna help out the mind. Plus it gives our legs a break. Now when we are ready, We're gonna find our way to goddess pose. So just notice if we need to readjust the feet, then we'll bend those knees. We'll let our tailbone get heavy. We can let our elbows come out to the side. Now, if we prefer, we can also do hands on the hips. Now, we might stay here. We might even just press through the balls of our feet. If we want to, we're going to play with alternating lifting up a heel. So remember, it's not just about lifting the heel, it's about pressing the ball of the foot down. We're going to press down that right or that left foot. Maybe the heel can come up. We'll bring it down. We take our left or right foot, press through the foot to lift up the heel, and bring it down. One more on each side. So we're going to see if we can lift up one side and down. We'll lift up the other side and down. Pausing in that goddess pose. Maybe we sink down a little bit. Again, can we be present in that discomfort? Deep breath in, deep breath out. We'll press through the belly, engage that core. And then we'll straighten the legs. We'll let our feet pivot straight ahead. And we'll find our way into our forward fold. So however we want to get there, maybe we want to walk our hands out. Maybe we want to tilt forward. And again, this is our forward fold. Adjust however you need to adjust. And just notice what we need. Does it feel good to add in tractioning, where we place our hands on the ground in front of us and let our hips travel to the wall behind us? Does it feel good to bend the knees and just let the tailbone lift up to the ceiling a little bit? Do we want to hang heavy? Do we want to hold on to a block? Our time right now. I'm going to try our best to breathe in. We're going to try our best to breathe out. Full inhale if possible. Full exhale. One more breath. Now, if we would like, we're eventually finding our way back into our downward facing dog. We can get there however we like. We can also come out of this pose, stand up, pivot into a high lunge, and then eventually find our way back to our our downward facing dog. If you want to try it from runner's lunge, we're going to bend our knees, and then we're going to walk towards the front of our mat as we let our front foot pivot forward, back heel can pop up. We're welcome to stay in lizard if this feels better for us. We can also frame the foot and come to runner's lunge. Now, if we want to challenge our core just a little bit more before we step back into our downward facing dog, we're going to press through the hands, press through the belly, bend the knee, but keep the knee where it is, and then come back. Now, if we would like, we can add in any movement we need, which might be coming to plank, dropping the knees, little tricep push-up, little chaturanga push-up, and then coming back to a resting pose. Make that time your own. We're going to give this 5 deep breaths, whatever it is we found. Now, if we are ready, we'll try this on the opposite side. We'll lift up now our right leg. We'll bend the knee. We can think the knee points out the right side of the room. The toes are trying to point out the left side. But we also lift it up and overhead with that hip. It's okay if our body's not moving like that just yet. Don't force your body into a shape that doesn't feel good. Maybe it feels good to roll out our right ankle though. Just roll out as if the toes are drawing circles in one direction. We'll roll in the opposite. Now, when we are ready, we're finding our warrior one, so we can think squaring off the hips again, knee to chest, foot towards that right hand. It's okay if it doesn't get all the way to the front. We come up, we readjust until we're in our warrior one, and we'll let our arms reach up, and we'll pause if we can. Just taking that moment to notice. Finding that breath in. Finding that breath out. Deep inhale if we can. Deep exhale. Now maybe we're ready for a silver surfer flow. So we think inhale in length. Exhaling, we'll let our arms swing back. We can let our torso tilt forward. And on our inhale, we'll come back up. On the exhale, we could swing back and tilt forward. On the inhale, we'll come right back up. One more time in full. We'll swing forward. We'll swing back up. We'll pause here if we can. Now, when we're ready, we'll let our arms relax down. We'll unclasp behind us in whatever way we need. Again, listen to your body. Now, if it feels good, we might press through the belly, lift through the chest, and whatever we need here. Do we like to let the arms be heavy? Do we like to have the hand lightly against the tailbone area and gently press in as those shoulders and elbows start to travel back? Just notice where you're at with this. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Now when we're ready, we're going to let that relax. We'll find humble warrior, so we can think lengthen the body. On the exhale, we'll tilt forward. And again, we're going to try our best to be present. So again, we can do that same observation as before. Can we notice where the discomforts are? Usually we are taught to ignore discomfort, pretend it's not there. Some of us even confuse one of the greater aspects of classical yoga with ignoring the outside world. The further it cannot be further from the truth. We are present, we are acknowledging it, but we're neutral, and we're breathing, and we're bringing the attention back. Deep breath in if we can. Deep breath out. One more breath. Now when we're ready, pressing through the feet, we'll come back up. Let those arms reach up if we can. So it's that variation of reverse triangle. We'll let that front leg straighten. We'll take that left hand either to the hip or to the back leg. Right arm can reach up or maybe up and slightly back. But again, we want to think I'm pressing through my belly. I might have lifted through my rib cage, but I did not let that translate into the low back crunching. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. One more breath. Now we're finding our way to five-pointed star. We can relax that down. We're going to pivot that front foot in. That back heel pivots a lot. The legs will stay straight for now. And we'll just let our arms come out. Now if it feels good, we might even just think stretching out through the arms as if our fingertips could touch opposite ends of the room. Or if you're like me, you're so close to those sides of the room that you could almost touch them and you just stretch them out. And then maybe we can relax the shoulders a little bit. And then we're coming back to goddess. So if we're ready, we'll let the arms come down. If we need to readjust the feet, perfectly fine. We're going to start to lower down, adjust if we need to. Hands can be up, hands can be on the hips, hands could be even out to the side if that helps our balance. If we want to add on, we're going to add on, but don't feel obligated to. When we are ready, we're going to press through that left foot so much that the heel comes up, but that foot comes down. Nice and controlled. Opposite foot comes up. It comes down. Again, press through the ball of the foot to bring up the heel. Bring it down. Press through that right big toe to help the heel come up. Control down. Pausing here if we can. Now, if we want, we're going to try 3 times of lifting up both heels. So if we can, pressing through the feet to lift up the heels. Bring it back down. Press through the feet to lift up the heels. Bring it back down. One more time. I know this is a challenge if we come up. Press through as we come down. One more breath here in goddess pose. And then we'll find our forward fold. We'll come up, pivoting our feet in, readjusting the feet if we need to. Folding forward when we're ready. Any forward fold. Now again, I really want you to make this time, and we might be curious. Maybe we just close the eyes and we notice what happens when we sway a little bit. Or if we spend a little time in that left leg, spend a little time with the right. We're just going to give this 3 more deep breaths, whatever it is we found. ready, we're eventually finding our way back into our downward facing dog, or really anything we need. If that pivot into a runner's lunge worked for us, we'll bend our knees, we'll start to walk towards the front of the mat again, we'll pivot that front foot, we'll back heel can pop up. Now again, if we want to play with our core, we press through the hands, press through the belly, maybe even the hips lift up a little bit. We bend the knee, but keep the knee where it is, and then we'll come back. Now it's any movement we need here, which today might even mean I come to plank, I drop the knees, I press my belly to the spine, I find a really controlled back bend, I press through the belly to bring the hips back up, and then I come back to down dog. That's a wonderful addition, song chaturanga or knees down chaturanga. Whatever we find, I invite you to give this 3 more deep breaths. Now when we're ready, we'll find our forward fold. If we're practicing that transition, we want to think press through the hands, press through the fingertips, press through the belly, lift up the hips, feet land where they're going to land. We might walk the rest of the way or bring the hands to meet the feet. We can find our halfway lift. We'll find our forward fold, pausing for an extra breath if we can. And then we'll come up to stand. We'll press through our feet, arms can reach up and overhead. Hands can find the heart, and we'll pause. We'll take that moment to breathe in. We'll take that moment to breathe out, and while we are here, can we just notice how things feel? As always, we want to try our best not to chase an expectation. At no point do we want to tell ourselves, yoga's supposed to make me happy, yoga's supposed to make me peaceful. Where can I find that peaceful feeling? I want you to take a step back from that if you can. Just notice where you're at, even if it's against expectation. And from a pure curiosity standpoint, again, can we ask ourselves, where can I feel that emotion in my body? Now, it's okay if the answer is, I don't know yet. Just keep asking yourself that question periodically. Again, we remind ourselves, we are just being curious. There are no expectations here, no pass or fail marks to worry about. If we are ready, we will find our way into a variation of Warrior 3. So again, there are countless ways to come into Warrior 3. This is just one of them. Now, since it is balance, we might prefer our mat, we might prefer off the mat. We might prefer a wall, whether we like to be to the side of the wall, or if we like to actually face the wall with our both hands on it. Either version is valid. Please make this time your own. Now if we can, we're putting weight into that left leg, soft knee if you can. Pressing through that left foot, really pressing the big toe if we can. Now I want you to think pressing down so much that that's what brought up that right knee. Now we'll notice there's a natural wobble in that left foot. That's okay. Allow that wobble to happen. Just notice if the weight tends to start capsizing into our pinky side edges. It's very hard for our body to come back from that. So make sure that it's a nice ebb and flow. Now when we're ready, we might kick that leg straight behind us, pressing through the belly. Maybe we start to hinge forward as well. We are welcome to think about that right hip staying guided down. That just helps us focus on some muscles in that opposite leg. And whatever we need here, if we like to point the toes, flex the foot, we want our arms out, we want our hands by our heart. There are countless ways to be in this pose. We're going to take that deep breath in. We're going to take that deep breath out. One more full breath. And as we can, we're going to press through that foot and mindfully come back. Again, mindful and graceful, 2 separate terms. And can we notice? Can we notice left leg? Can we notice right? Can we notice that strong sensation, if we're feeling strong sensation in the left leg? And just give that a moment. Take a deep breath in and out. Now maybe we shake the legs out a little bit. If we're ready, we're gonna try it on the other side. Now the weight is in our opposite leg, that right foot, pressing that down. Soft knee if we can. Now if we can, we're gonna press that foot down so much that we start to lift up the opposite knee. If we like to even add in a little ankle roll, we can. Pressing through that foot. Again, we're pressing through that right foot. When we are ready, we're gonna kick back, stay engaged through the core if you can. As we tilt forward, can we keep that left hip guiding downwards? For some of us, once that hip starts guiding down, we really feel it in one of our hamstring muscles. That's exactly why we're helping it guide downwards. Again, toes can be pointed, toes can be flexed, hands at the heart, hands behind us, hands in front of us. We can do a little Superman where one hand is by the torso, other hand is stretched out. Make this time your own. Deep breath in, deep breath out. Full inhale, full exhale. One more breath. As we're ready, we'll bring ourselves back up. Now again, can we notice our right leg? Just notice it. Maybe we shake it out a little bit when we're ready. We'll take a moment in mountain pose. We'll let our palms rotate forward. Maybe we close our eyes. And we just notice. Notice how it feels to breathe in. Notice how it feels to breathe out. Notice that heartbeat. And just notice what you feel in your body. Whether that is pure physical sensation or anything. Now, when we are ready, we'll find our way into our last flow. So we could always inhale the arms up and overhead. We could exhale into that fold. We could inhale the halfway lift. We could exhale and plant our hands. Any movement here. If we're practicing our transitions, we want to think soft knees, lift through the hips, press through those hands as we lift up and back to down dog, landing with soft knees. Any movement here, which might be movement straight to child's pose. Maybe it is a knees up, chaturanga push-up. Really whatever you need here. Again, make this time your own. And whatever we find. Eventually, let's all meet in a child's pose. So get there however you need to get there. If you need extra time, that's the beautiful thing about a video. We can pause it. And then when we're ready, we'll come to our child's pose. And we'll take that moment to breathe in. And breathe out. Maybe one more breath here. Now, if it works for us, we'll find our way into our king pose. So when we are ready, we're going to come up for a moment, but we're going to come to table pose. So we're going to come up, that might mean readjusting the feet. We're going to curl our toes, and then we'll start to shift back almost like we're coming into our child's pose again, and this might be all we need. For a lot of us, myself included, you can really feel that there's a lot of focus here. And if you need to readjust the feet, go right ahead. Notice if the feet are sickling out to the side, see if you can readjust. Now, if it's possible, we're going to walk ourselves back. We're welcome to keep our hands by our knees. If we feel comfortable, we can sit up. If you're like me, you might need to readjust the feet because not all the toes like to face forward. My pinky toes don't even meet the floor, so they're not even a part of this equation. And just notice. This is a very intense pose, and this is a great time to notice discomfort versus pain. Discomfort we are being present with, pain we ease back from. Whatever we found, can we take a deep breath in? Deep breath out. One more breath, we're almost there. Now we can walk ourselves back. We can let the feet lightly flatten out. We might just pause for a moment in stillness. Maybe it feels good to tap out the toes a little bit. We'll find our way into a seated position when we're ready. And as always, that's our transition. We come into it however we want to. Now, once we're here, maybe it just feels good to shake out the legs. Maybe we point and flex our feet a little bit. Now, if we would like, we're going to find our wide-legged forward fold. Again, we can do whatever we want with it. It does not have to be anything I'm suggesting. How wide is up to us? It might be shoulder width, mat's width, more than mat's width. If you're like me, you like to do a little scooching forward, but again, notice what you personally want. And this might be where we stay. If it feels good, we might tilt forward. Only as far as we can. Now, if we would like, we might practice playing with pointing our toes. And we're just kind of strengthening the muscles under our arches, kind of playing with the fascia that is underneath our arches, our plantar fascia. And that's right, when that area gets inflamed, that's plantar fasciitis. Now, if we'd like, we might stay here. If we want to, we might travel over to one leg, however we want to get there. Now again, we want to make sure this is our time. We might even keep the knees bent, maybe the legs are not straight. If we find that one of our hands can easily get to the foot, we might take the foot, or take the hand, let it slide over the foot, and then lightly guide the toes downwards, slightly. This is very intense. Just noticing how that feels. We're trying to stretch the tops of our feet, which tend to not get a lot of love, and sometimes when they're overactive, that can contribute to plantar fasciitis. And just notice how that feels, especially for me, it's all about the big toe. All my other toes I could curl in, think nothing of it. My big toe, I put a little bit of pressure in it, and whoo boy, I feel that. But again, staying present. If we're cramping, get out. One more breath in. One more breath out. Now what we might do is we might come out entirely for a moment. We might even flex our feet a little bit, roll them out, wiggle the toes. Maybe we're ready for the other side, so maybe we point our feet. Maybe we can come over now towards that right foot. If the right hand can lightly find the leg, and again, there's no forcing it here. Maybe the knee is even bent. Maybe we can slide that hand over the knee and then lightly press the toes down. So my left side is a little more restricted. The top of my foot is a little more active than my right. So I'm putting in a little less pressure. Again, we want to make sure we're not forcing symmetry here. We are gently guiding our body into balance. And that means sometimes one side needs a different plan than the other side. It's a lot like students in a classroom. Can't do that across the board, same style. Sometimes you have to individualize those plans. And I'm just giving it a good amount of time. We're giving it at least that 30 seconds. That lets our nervous system know it's okay for these muscles to release. So again, if we're getting cramping, ease back. This is a lot, especially for a lot of us who've probably never stretched the top of our feet before. Just notice what we're feeling here. We'll try our best to breathe in. Breathe out. Now when we're ready, we'll come up. We'll let our feet come back to center. So maybe the weight goes back, we bend the knees, maybe we shake out the legs, move the feet, little pointing and flexing. If we like, we're gonna come to a bound angle, but we're not gonna lean forward, not if we don't want to. Instead, we'll take our hands, we'll place them on each foot, and we're just gonna do a very light massage to the area right underneath the base of our big toe, right on the arch. Now if we want, we can move it around a little bit, and really all I'm doing here is essentially these little clampers. I'm just pressing my thumb into the area, just noticing how that feels. And these muscles are the foundation for us, and we want to be kind to them. And we might even stay here. Maybe we're finding some real tender spots, and we kind of just want to hang out with that. Go right ahead, this is your practice. If we are ready, we're gonna meet on our backs. So that might mean knees are coming up. If we're ready, we'll shift back, and maybe back and down. Maybe it feels good to hug the knees in, a little rocking side to side. Maybe we draw circles with the knees. Now we'll find whatever twist of our choosing towards the right. Again, make sure this is your time. Any twist towards the right as that feels good. Settling in the arms in the way we want to. The only rule here is this twist is deliberate and we're not trying to chase anything. Finding our breath in. Finding that breath out. 2 more breaths if we can. Now if we can, we'll come back to center. We'll find that twist in the opposite direction. So again, we might need to readjust the body, find whatever twist feels good here. Settling in as we are ready. Just finding a few more deep breaths. Now when we are ready, we'll come back to center. We can move in whatever way we'd like to move. We are eventually finding our bridge poses. Just like before, we might do these with the heels still on the ground. And in fact, if we find we have a problem with those feet sickling out to the pinky side edges, we might keep the heels down and just focus on really pressing the big toe side, the ball of the big foot, the big toe, and then the area right underneath the big toe at the ball of the foot. Now, when we are ready, we're going to find first just our standard issue bridge. We're going to press through our feet entirely as we lift up and as we lift down. Now as we're ready, we're going to lift up our hips, now pressing through that big toe, the balls of our big feet, especially that area that's right underneath the big toe as the heels come up. Now with control, they come down. Gravity didn't do the work for you, you did, and then you can mindfully come down. Maybe one more time. We're going to press through as we lift up. Now maybe we can press through the balls of our feet, lifting up our heels. Nice and mindful. We'll bring the hips or the heels down and then bring the hips down. Now maybe we move a little bit. Maybe it feels good to hug the knees in and rock a little bit. And if we'd like, we can find either our supine bound angle, legs up the wall, or any inversion of our choosing. So again, supine bound angle, that's when the soles of the feet meet, the knees are out to the side. If we're near a wall or a couch and want to do legs up the wall, we bring one hip towards that side of the couch or the wall. We start to lean down. As we do so, we'll bring 1 and 2 legs up. We can lay on our backs, and if you were like me, you just have to inchworm a little bit towards the wall or towards a couch. But again, I want you to make this time your own, because this is our last guided pose. So before we do anything, I want you to take a moment to take that deep breath in and deep breath out. Find that full inhale. Find that full exhale. Now can we give this pose, whatever pose we're in, 3 more breaths. And we have the option of staying here for longer. And in fact, depending on what's happening in our bodies, depending on what our needs are right now, this might even be our Shavasana pose. This is our time to check in and ask ourselves, what do I need right now? Do I need to stay where I am at? Do I need to move? Do I need to readjust? And again, we want to ask that question without pretending we already know the answer. We want to ask from a place of pure curiosity. And if we ask it thinking we already know the answer, it's not from a place of curiosity. So really ask yourself, what do I need right now? And it's okay if there's a part of your mind that's saying, we need to finish yoga early and get some ice cream, we need to quit now. Just notice what that part of the mind is doing. See if you can bring it back. Again, self-care is not always easy, but it's worth it. So again, whatever we need here, if we need a Shavasana that is longer than 2 to 3 minutes, please pause the video and set a timer on your phone. Otherwise, I will play the singing bowls for a little bit. I will let them fade into silence, and eventually I will guide us back towards an easy seat. And as always, what we do between now and then is entirely within your power. We are welcome to take that deep breath in and that deep breath out. Now, as we breathe, maybe we can think about our return to our easy seat as breath-centered. My next inhale allows me to move through my hands and feet. Maybe the next inhale allows me to stretch through the arms and legs. And maybe every inhale is our guide to add on a little more movement. And we try to let that level of movement last for the exhale before inhaling for something new. So again, take your time, and as always, no rush. My cues are always suggestion. When we are ready, we'll meet in that easy seat. We'll settle in one last time. We'll let our hands come together at the heart. And for today's moment of gratitude, maybe we take a moment to just notice that space around our heart. We'll take that moment and repeat the word gratitude to ourselves. And if we can we ask ourselves, what does gratitude feel like in my body? And then whatever meaning of namaste resonates, and perhaps today it is the resilience within me recognizes the resilience within you. I thank you for your time. I thank you for your practice. Namaste.